If your steering wheel shakes when you push the brake pedal, maybe at high speeds or going downhill when your brakes get hot, most likely your front brake rotors are out of round. The car we are working on today is a 2006 Ford Mustang that developed a steering wheel vibration when braking at speeds above 40 miles per hour. So let's take the wheels and the brakes off. Turn the whole assembly toward us so it's easier to work on. You're gonna have to leave the key in the ignition to do that, obviously. Next, we're going to remove the two caliper bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom. Now at this point, you should be able to pull the caliper right off, but if it's really stuck on there, this is what you want to do. Fit a big screwdriver or a small pry bar into the middle part of the rotor and pry the caliper against the rotor so that the pistons would retract back into the caliper, creating some room between the pads and the caliper. And you will be able to remove the caliper from the rotor. You can use a bungee cord or a caliper hook to hang up the caliper out of the way so it doesn't hang on the brake hose. Next, let's remove the brake pads. Pay attention which pad is outer and which pad is inner. In case your pads have wear indicators, you want to make sure the new pads are installed the same way as the old ones were. Next, we'll remove the caliper bracket bolts and the bracket so we can remove the rotor. Now, most shops would simply install new rotors because it costs a customer almost as much to machine the old rotor as it does to just buy a new one. But I'm going to machine this rotor, so hopefully I can show you how warped it is, because you can't really see it with the naked eye. First, let's measure it and make sure it is still thick enough to be machined. With minimum disc thickness allowed at 1 inch and 110 thousandths, we have plenty of meat to cut. And after the very first cut, we can clearly see half the rotor is dark and the other half is light. This is a clear indicator that the rotor is warped. Light side is what got cut, dark side didn't get touched. After cutting it a second time, we can see the surface of the rotor is getting even. And if we measure the thickness of the resurfaced rotor, it is 11 thousandths of an inch thinner. So it took that much metal to cut off the warpage imperfections. Now let's put everything back together. Don't forget to clean and lube the slide pins. Replace the hardware if you have it, or clean the old one. Install the rotor, caliper bracket. If you're installing new brake pads, push the caliper pistons back in so the caliper can fit over the new thicker pads. This is what we were doing in the beginning of the video with a small pry bar. And all we're doing here is pushing the brake fluid from the caliper back to the master cylinder. Install the new pads, fit the caliper over. Quick tip: when you're installing the caliper, make sure the flat part of the slide pin matches the rib of the caliper. Torque everything to specs. Repeat the same process for the other side. Don't forget to pump up the brakes until you get a firm pedal. And let's go drive it. At almost 70 miles an hour, we push on the brakes and the steering wheel stays completely still. Here is a comparison side by side between the new or machined rotors and the old warped rotors. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share your experience, and give feedback in the comments below. Links to all the products you saw in this video will be in the description. Thank you for watching, good luck, and take care.